Welcome to Smart Franchising with FranSmart. I'm Dan Rowe, and I've masterminded the ascent of local favorites to global dominators. This isn't your usual get-to-know-you chat. We're diving deep. We're revealing the raw truths about franchise wealth building. With over 30 years in the trenches, I'm spilling it all. If you have an appetite for unfiltered tales and the hidden blueprints of franchise prosperity, buckle up. We're diving in. All right, welcome back to Smart Franchising with FranSmart, and today we're talking all things AI, demystifying AI and how to best leverage AI in franchising. I feel like such a novice with this topic. I actually feel like I'm behind the curve, and every day I see, some new AI tools or how people are using AI in a different way, and I just don't get it. So my man, Jeremy Brazeal from Reality Interactive is going to help us understand it. First of all, Jeremy, tell us about you, your background, and how you got to where you are today.
Hi, well, I want to thank you guys for having me on. I'm always excited to talk about this stuff. We're in really exciting times that are moving really fast, especially on the topic of AI and using it. My background has always been directly related to work getting done around customer affinity and growing that with some big brands. I spent a long time at the Lego Group and also at Coca-Cola. So anything with a user account attached to it, I've been involved with curating content and things of that nature. Now on the agency side and the technology side, we're still building tools like that, and AI has the potential of really positively impacting that and serving up content or products or experiences to people that are really hyper targeted.
Well, and I have a hard enough time staying on top of the franchise tech stack, like the generic, what's the best POS, what's the best this, best that. But for sure, I don't have any clue about AI. So what is AI? And can you show me an example or tell me an example of how people are using AI in an interesting way that helps their business?
Well, surprisingly enough, you're probably very familiar with AI. You just don't realize it. So examples are chatbots, right? When you go to a website giving you product recommendations, they might have AI driving that now. Things like Siri, if you're using Siri, like that is definitely AI driven. Self-driving cars, recommendation systems. So, for example, if you watch Netflix, the movie recommendations and TV recommendations that are coming in are being driven by AI and centered around your behaviors when you use Netflix over time. So it's really tools that have ways of understanding you and getting to know you, and then being able to, this is the most important part, it's able to predict what you're probably going to choose, right? So it's this model but I mean, you don't necessarily have to be experts on it to know that you're experiencing it probably at some point every day.
Yeah. And I'm reminded of like back in the .com boom, where people were spending so much money to try and get in on that. They were spending sort of $10 and making $1. How do you think about AI and investing in AI where it's the opposite? I want to spend $1 and make $10. Like, where's the best ROI, or what's the smart way? Like I can just see someone with a big balance sheet going out there spending a fortune on AI products or projects and never really making any money.
Well, a lot of this type of stuff, it's really hard to measure value. I'm going to be completely honest, but the value is there. It's always been this challenge of measuring value. On the .com boom reference, just after that is when a lot of this stuff started coming into play. And most notably around using taxonomy, not to get too technical in the terms, around serving up product recommendations or content. It's just now it's actually becoming much more cost effective because of AI is actually making it a lot easier to do that type of stuff at a lower cost. So that is then opening up a ton of possibilities for hyper focusing what companies are offering to their consumers, and only filtering in the stuff to them that they value the most or they want the most or that's going to get them more engaged with the brand or the products that are being offered. So I know that I might not 100% answer the question. I'm going dancing around it a little bit, but the AI tools are not as costly as one might think. There's definitely pretty cost effective ways to do it.
Good. Well, we'll definitely come back to that because that's important. What are some ways, like explain to a layman how people are using AI just to drive revenue? Like, and doesn't have to be franchising, but just any way that you can think where AI actually help generate revenue.
Well, there's quite a few examples right now where it's happening. So I'm an athlete, I'm a cyclist. So in my daily life where it adds value, there's two companies that are starting to use AI really well at different levels. One of them is Strava, which you may have heard about. It's mostly for runners and cyclists, but they're branching out to other things. They have AI tools now that they're incorporating that give you an overview of your workout and where maybe you underperformed or overperformed or what you should do in your next workout, which adds a ton of value, because what that does is it gives another reason for somebody like me to stay in that subscription model. Another one where is a bit in beta right now is one called Breakaway, which is it's very much cyclist driven, but it is an AI based coach. So you're putting data into the system every time you get on a bicycle, like your heart rate and your performance zones, your other sensors on your bike, like your power meter, that's telling you how much power you put out with each pedal stroke. It's taking that, and then you can even incorporate your sleep patterns and any data that's coming off, say, an Apple Watch, and then it gives you a training plan. It could even say, hey, you're being too aggressive right now. You need to take a couple days off. And then it'll explain why and what you're going to get out of it and the benefits. So these are all levers that these companies and these brands can now use to keep somebody coming back and to realize, like, look, sure, like in the case of maybe a restaurant, for example, like, sure, your food is going to bring them back, but also what is this extra layer that these tools are now providing to make you a little bit more dedicated to them as a company or a brand, because you're getting more value out of it just by being associated or being within their loyalty program or something like that.
So you mentioned subscriptions, like subscriptions and memberships. I love that idea. So like that's reoccurring revenue. You know, you almost get to the point where you just keep paying the fee each month or each year and you kind of set it and forget it. How does AI help that? Like, how does AI help a business drive more subscription or membership?
Well, let's get into a little bit about, in simple terms, what AI is, right? Or what it could be. As somebody who's come from more of that high affinity consumer, growing consumers that way, increasing lifetime value, I always use this term, and people I've worked with use this term: show them that you know them.
Show them that you know them. I like
show
that.
them that you know them, like you're their friend, right? Like, so let's look at AI as an example of that, a really, really close friend that gets to know you so well, but is brutally honest, right? If you want to look at it that way. So knows you really well, knows your patterns, knows what you like, learns it, which is key, learns it over time. So it's actually actively getting to know you better. And then going back to what I had mentioned, the predictive side of it, right? Knowing what you're going to do next or what these patterns are, because that's really what it's looking at as patterns. Close friend. So are you sure you really want to order that item? Maybe this one would be better for you. You know, maybe this one matches what your goals are a little bit more. When that happens, that's a dialogue, right? That's a conversation. It's personal. because they know you. It feels like it knows you on a personal level, and that draws you in, and it makes you want to be more active with that brand because it's making your life easier, and you're developing a relationship. You want to have those conversations, and it's the language models that they're using now that you can assign to these, like it's like talking to another person. It's not like talking to a robot with that robot voice from 10 years ago. You can give it accents. You could be a male or a female. You can localize local, it could be sound like somebody from Boston. If so those types of things make it really powerful.
You can do a Boston accent or
You
a
probably can.
that's
Yeah.
that's funny. So
Yeah.
I like that. Show them that you know them. So when I think about how franchise businesses make money, they need to drive brand new customer counts, right? Drive trial, increase frequency. So they got to get existing people coming back more often. And you got to get them to spend more money over time, each time over time. So brand new people coming back and spending more money. How can you see AI helping in those areas? And actually, I want to talk about canola. So one of our healthy fast food drive-through concepts, it's the first restaurant concept I've invested in a long time, but it's all about healthy, high protein food. And so, and they're very untechnical right now. They're on the lower end of the technical spectrum. So we're basically putting that whole tech stack in place, all the best known ways. But I'd love to know, like, in your opinion, how would you use AI in a way to drive more awareness and trial? And then once you have customers, how to get them coming back, and then how to get them spending more over time? Like, how does machine learning help you do that?
Well, a couple things. So you said they're drive-through, right? And I'm familiar with the brand. So they're drive-through based. So right there is a huge opportunity because you're not really seeing the person you're talking to. And they could very much, in the future world that is now, you could very much have the person on the other side, the cashier or counter clerk or whoever it is, be AI. So that's your first step, right? So at a minimum, welcome to Canola. What can I help you with today? They can say, "Hey, they don't even have to see the menu. I'm looking for something with high protein value, but I'm vegetarian, whatever." And they can say, "Hey, hope your day is going well. We've got those options," and they can communicate those options. Where it gets really powerful is once you now start assigning a user account to that. So then you end up with this world where the cashier is also, to an extent, a nutritionist, right? Where they're going to remember what they ordered over time, and they can ask, like, "Hey, I noticed last time you normally order this product. Last time you ordered this product, what did you think about it? Did you like it?" "No, I didn't like it. I didn't really like whatever," and they could say there were certain ingredients they didn't like. And then two things happen at that point. The AI remembers, right? And every time that person comes back, they're gonna be able to say, "Hey, I noticed last time you didn't like what you ordered because there was walnuts in it. There's walnuts in this too. Are you sure you want those?" So there's that personal level. And they're going to also say, "Hey, a lot of people are changing this order and removing the walnuts. Maybe you might want to rethink this salad and have less walnuts." And it can also give information back to the business, right? So you're developing that relationship, you're growing it, you're hyper targeting, you're providing upsell, because it's conversational for certain things, and it's more personal.
The AI can store all the historic orders, right? Like, how does it remember me? Can it recognize me by the car, by the voice? The easy one would be if we signed up as members. If we were a member, like, every chain's got a membership. But if you like an affinity program or something like that. Like what are ways for it to recognize me? I like that whole idea.
Yeah, so you're onto a really important point. To really get the most out of the power of an AI tool like this, you need a unique marker that connects the individual with the data set, if you want to look at it. So normally that's a user login, that's an email address, that's a phone number. It can tie into cameras, so you can start if they're the opt-in, and I don't, there's always this legal side of like what information you can retain and market to. But if the opt-in is the license plate number or these types of things, you have cameras outside, like this facial recognition is a big one where there's sensitivity. But all that stuff, once they opt in, absolutely, that can be the unique identifier. And then once you have that unique identifier, you're building this customer profile. We all have this going on in our daily lives. Anytime if you have an Instagram account, if you Facebook, that's how you're getting ads based on your user behaviors, right? So this is no different than that. So it's going to build that up. The benefit is it's going to be hyper targeted to that brand and that brand's product. So it doesn't have to go search the internet for information. It doesn't have to do all this stuff. It's all retained within your systems or the brand or company's systems. But yeah, it learns over time, and it remembers that, it stores that, and it adds those little kind of tags on the back end around what the person likes or dislikes.
So like if I have all this affinity group, like members essentially, and it recognizes me, can it over time recognize my voice?
Yeah.
Okay. Or if I'm ordering online or whatever. But if I usually order every Monday and all of a sudden I don't order, could AI then send me a message that said, hey, we're used to seeing you every morning. Didn't see you, must be traveling. Hope you're somewhere fun. See you when you get back, kind of a thing?
100%. But you can do that now. You could do that in the past without AI too. So because computers do record. Yeah, I mean, it does record that type of behavior, and you can. But AI is just a much stronger way to do it, and it's going to be more natural, and it's going to be more conversational. You could be like, "Hey, I'm checking up on you. Is everything okay?" I mean,
yeah, no. There's been tools that do that for 20 years, but they're all man-made, like they're all man-instigated, right? So they have something, you actually have to go into a report and say, okay, who hasn't been here? What am I going to send them? But none of that stuff happened automatically, at least accurately. How could you see AI as a way to drive more revenue per guest?
Well, exactly what we're talking about, because it's the interaction, it's relying on it. That becomes more behavioral with the user, and then makes it more attractive over time. So you're going to increase frequency of visits. And when you increase frequency of visits, because it's making their lives easier. Like we all want our lives to make easier. We don't want to make so many decisions every day. It's kind of natural. And if you have something that's helping you with some of those decisions, you're going to use it more. And if it's a good experience and it's adding value, you're going to build it more into your daily life. It's just a bit of human behavior.
Yeah. How about the in-store experience? So actually, Conala started as a drive-through only concept, 1,000 square feet. The last couple that they've opened have been failed Carl's Jr., so they actually have interiors. And what they're finding is people actually like it, because when you go in the drive-through, you're committed to using the concept. But when you walk in, you can still sort of walk in and look around and get to know it. So the sales are as busy as they were on the drive-through. They're a lot busier with the ones that also have some insight saving. How about AI in the in-store experience? What are some good ways of using AI to enhance the in-store experience? And it could be a Canala, it could be any retail business you think about, but my prism's Canala, so I'll come back to Canala.
Yeah, so we're actually working on that with a client right now. A bigger, more telecom brand that we're working with on that. That's all I'll really say. But it's It's all about dynamic content in that situation. You know, if you put cameras, for instance, AI in simple terms, like if you remove the user profile out of it, so what we talked about, loyalty program, members and facial recognition and all that complexity, which is all possible. But if we go to basic terms of just a customer going in, AI can interpret age demographics in the store. So it can say, okay, based on the 10 customers that are in the store, threshold is set at 60% are under 18. The menus could actually shift to be more targeted to 18-year-olds, or the signage, digital signage through the store could be more targeted, and the images of people can be more the younger demographics. And then for whatever reason at 2:00, it starts shifting to a totally different demographic. The AI can see that and automatically switch out that content to be more targeted to the older age demographic or whatever it is.
How would it know? Would the cameras just basically click on each person that comes in and they can come
all
up
at
with
once?
an age range? Wow.
Yeah, because this is the big shift that's happened. Is really it's about the power of the hardware, like processor speed of the computers and things like that are driving the AI's ability to access a ton of data points at once and filter them right into something. So yeah, it happens like that. It goes in, scans everybody in the room, says, "Boom, this person's like looks like they're 40 because of these are the characteristics of a 40-year-old," and you know, and then and those are all bucketed into certain age demographics, and there you go, content shift. The easy one is male and female, but it can get all the way down to age demographics.
And so male and female, if the system recognizes male and female, and then it just tracks what gets purchased, it'll come up with an algorithm that says this portion of males order this much of this item. And yeah, because I could see like in the olden days, even 30, 35 years ago, we used to have product mix reports or day part sales reports, but it's still, the data was there, but you had to do stuff to figure out what to do with the data. And so you constantly had menu items staying on your menu that never sold. You sort of knew it didn't sell or it sold low, but you didn't really do anything about it. So AI seems like very quickly can tell you what you're selling, what you aren't selling. If you feed back into it the price per item or the labor cost per item, really hone you in on your most profitable menu items, right?
Fast too.
Yeah.
Once again, it's predictive.
Yeah.
So it sees the patterns, and then it has the ability to kind of know what's going to happen next. And that's the power of it. Yes, so it can filter. It puts a lens on everything. So it can filter based, and then suddenly it can drop stuff out of the menu. It can filter certain menus into the prime spot. You can have featured screens that have featured items, and it can change those based on who's in the audience. And it can even pull in other APIs, right? Like what's the current weather outside? That's a big one, right? So you sell coffee, it's 40 degrees out, it's going to show you hot coffee. If as soon as the temperature hits 60 or 70, it might start shifting to iced drinks. So like all that stuff, different APIs and information and data that come in can inform the decisions that AI makes.
Yeah. Okay. And how about surge pricing? I mean, probably the crudest way of saying it, when you're slow, you might have lower prices. When you're busier, you might raise your prices a little bit.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So dynamic pricing to an extent, right? So you could do it by neighborhood. You can do it by the demographics within the store. Do they look like they can afford the higher price? Is it resonating? Are they buying, so there's all sorts of things that can be built into these tools to be able to, once again, formulate decisions. Of course, you're not going to totally eliminate the involvement of, say, the manager of that location or the business owner or whatever it is. It's really going to be up to those person to set thresholds. That you want, like guardrails you want the AI to sit within. because you don't want them suddenly, selling stuff at a price that you're not making a profit on. But of course, like you're going to need a team that's going to enter those thresholds and guardrails and stuff like that.
Yeah, no, but I'm just thinking like if I'm at the football game and it's busy and I want a beer, I'm going to pay for the beer. I don't care if it's 10 or 10.50, right? So like if it's really busy, what did you call it? You didn't call it surge pricing. You said,
I called it dynamic pricing.
okay, maybe that's nicer than saying surge pricing. I think about Uber when I order an Uber and it recognizes the kind of cars I like and all that stuff. And frankly, I'll pay for it, whatever it takes, because I got to get where I'm going, right? So, or, like I think about when I look at an airline ticket and if I don't go buy it and I go back an hour later, the price goes up. Like it's remembering me, it's remembering me, and that it's remembering that I still buy the ticket, even though it's higher price than it was a few minutes ago. So back to just sort of like explain it like you're explaining to a 3-year-old. So in a context of Konala, how can AI streamline the customer journey and sort of speed up the path to purchase? Like if somebody heard about Konala, just heard about it, and they're quickly going to go online, like how do we connect with people and pull them through that funnel so that they're in our buying journey?
Well, I think that's a general marketing question, kind of. And I still, I'm going to go back to what I said earlier around the friend aspect of it. That close friend, like something that somebody's relying on. Canola, correct me if I'm wrong, but it's made fresh, correct?
Yeah.
So it's very, I would say, chef-driven kind of model. So I would push that. And it's really interesting. That's what's happened since, kind of post-COVID around digital adoption, around this ability, the lack of the ability for businesses to kind of retain or find staff, all that kind of stuff. If you're replacing that with this AI tool, these AI tools, that aspect of it, I don't want to use the word replace. If you have a business model like Canola that relies more on the staff being more about preparing the food fresh and having that high level of productivity and efficiency, that's the part that's going to resonate most. Like they're using technology to ensure food is like you made it at home, but you got a really good chef doing it for you, like your personal chef. And that, you're getting it to them quickly without waiting, that type of stuff. And I think the AI can then fulfill those promises. I guess is what I'm getting at. Like, I don't know if you would go and say, hey, we have this AI nutritionist that's going to take your orders and cater this and kind of curate your menu for you. You might, but you might make it about like the people that are actually making the food and why it matters. But I would say then I would really push this kind of one-to-one personalization of the relationship once that consumer becomes a customer. And then using the AI tool to do that, like being their friend, like their coach,
Right. Well, and you talked about labor, like restaurants are having a really tough time getting and keeping labor. And to your point, we have a concept called Rise. It's a biscuit donut concept. They used to have 5 or 6 employees every shift. Well, they put in ordering on your phone or ordering on a kiosk. They got rid of the cashier because they realized, like, they asked their staff, what do you guys hate doing? And they're like, we hate the cashier spot. Like, we hate talking to customers, right? They just had customers are rude and they're gruff. And so they eliminated that. And then instead of there's a position at the end when your order's ready, they call it Expo or whatever. They say Jeremy or number 2 or whatever, your order's ready. They actually got rid of that and opened up lockers, hot lockers and cold lockers. So they took 5 people, got rid of the cashier, got rid of Expo. The 3 people still there, they pay more. So they actually pay more per hour to those people, kind of overpaying them. And then they're removing stuff that they don't like doing anyways, which is interacting with the customers. And ironically, the concept now gets higher ratings for guest satisfaction and friendliness and all that other stuff. And all you did is basically removed the friction of a person. And made it super, super easy to be a customer using your either the kiosk or the app. And I wondered, like, how do you also layer, like, well, you're saying no, and I think that they do this, but maybe not as much as they could. They do have memberships or their affinity groups, but I'm not sure that they're actually, like, in the context of Canala, like someone could actually. I wonder if Canala could actually interface with your, if you're trying to track your weight, or if you're using like Lose It, a tool. So, like, if you actually have a cashier, I mean, if you have, I'm sorry, the kiosk and on the online app, and it knows who you are and your buying behavior, and then also what your goals are. Like, if you're trying to lose weight, like, how does AI kind of help shape all that?
And there's a lot to unpack there. Well, it does, and it will, and that's why I've kind of leaned into the coach concept. And once again, the brutally honest friend. Once you have kiosks and you have something that allows somebody to step up and engage with their phone, right? So you easily, if you have the app for the loyalty program, or you have a QR code on your phone that is attached to it or whatever, you can go up to the kiosk and there's a reader and it can see, or if you have the app on your phone, it can know you just walked up to it, and then it can be personalized around you if you're already in their loyalty program. So those are all kind of triggers for the experience that are really easy to incorporate. But once if you go back to how do you use monitoring your weight? Well, it only shows, it knows what your goals are. You set those goals to the app, this nutritionist app or whatever it is. And then it quite simply only shows you the items that are going to fit within that meal plan, that have the calorie count that fits within that meal plan. And then the AI side of it, if you have something that it does have a language model on it that's more conversational, like a chatbot type thing, like that example, you have a conversation with it, right? It can send you an email or a text message that's highly personal that says, do you really want that item that doesn't fit with your plan? I don't know. The possibilities are really endless, I guess is what I'm saying. Like, all that stuff can be built with what's currently available.
Yeah, no, I think where I was going with the Rise thing is that they enhanced guest experience. Guests gave them a higher rating, removing people, right? And I feel like that's actually low AI, and just, the kiosk and the hot and cold lockers. And I'm wondering, like, with something like Canala, if we go that direction, how do you also layer AI on there? Like, just like you said, like, it doesn't have to be a negative. I'm not removing cashier and that's a negative thing. I'm actually replacing it with what they want to do. They want to make the order on their phone. Customers don't want to talk to gruff staff, right? And then if you have this relationship still because of AI through your phone or through the kiosk, it's actually going to be even better, and it's going to help support suggestive selling, and it's going to remember the person, which makes you feel better.
Yeah, I mean, totally. AI doesn't need to be this person you have a conversation with, right? It can definitely be in the back end through a food ordering kiosk, 100%. There's a lot of stuff that can be done that way without AI, but you might as well incorporate AI in it. And I think that's the way I was touching on it a little bit earlier, that this post-pandemic world that we're living in, where digital adoption rates were just so disgustingly low prior to what we all went through. It didn't make sense because people are like, 5 years ago or 6 years ago, there was a large percent of the population was like, I'm not going to order online and go pick up my food. Like, that makes no sense. I'm just going to go there and order it like a normal human. So like, that was a conversation only 6 years ago. Now it's like, of course I'm going to just order this online. Like, it's so much easier. Why would I go talk to a person? Right. So this interesting thing that's happened. So absolutely automating that. I was recently spent 3 weeks over in New Zealand, and I was in Auckland, and in a lot of the food courts there was no people. The only people were the ones making the food. It was all kiosk based. So, you'd go up onto a kiosk, order the food. They didn't even take cash anymore. It was either Apple Pay or pay through your phone or debit card. And then they would then deliver food for you, or they would give you a buzzer, or you would get a text message, or whatever it is to go pick up your food. So, I mean, I think that's just more and more common these days. And at 100% makes sense to me that this business that you're mentioning is doing really well with it and getting rave reviews. It's really a reflection of where we are as a society.
And then I've also seen AI tools for wasted movement, right? So it actually watches in a kitchen and it watches how many people and a lot what it comes back. This particular tool, it tracks steps, how many steps your employees have making an item or physically steps walking around, and makes an argument for how you should lay out a more efficient kitchen, an easier, more effective kitchen. And then I've also seen AI tools that if your employee, like if their friends come through the drive-through line and they ring in 1 Coke, you give them 4 Cokes or something like that. And then immediately, because, we've always had cameras, but you've never really had anyone watching every single tape to make sure that what went out matched, right? And so AI could sort of flag that, say, oh, hey, he rang in 1 Coke and he gave away 4 Cokes or something like that.
Could do that.
Yeah.
Yep. Doesn't surprise me that you've seen that. The other thing, so I was thinking about canola a little bit, right? So, say the mission for using AI for the company was to improve people's lives, say through their nutrition, their health, their improve well-being. Like that was the company mission. Part of that goes to the freshness of the food, the speed of it, the productivity of the team. So you have AI as a singular tool that is measuring both these things. And then, at the end of the day, it's generating a report for the manager of that location of like against those KPIs, like, was the food made fast enough? Was the customer happy? Like here's some not get these people in trouble that work at the business, but here's some recommendations of how you can change the day-to-day operations to achieve the goal better, right? The shared goal. Or whatever it is. There's all sorts of positive ramifications of using these tools.
Because there's so many different things that you could do with AI, like a company that's not really leveraging AI, so that you don't run into a trap, like how would you advise them to organize themselves about getting started, but getting started in a way that's thoughtful and, it's going to be additive?
Yeah, I would say as a marketer, right, as a brand marketer, because I do wear that hat throughout my career, I would say this is the same rule for every brand. Like what is that mission that you're trying to accomplish that's going to differentiate you from your competitors? Or, like what is that core mission? And then if you're going to incorporate something like an AI tool or technology, any technology for that matter, how does it help you achieve that core mission? And if it doesn't, don't do it, right? And focus on these tools that will actually help that and help your customers and your consumers and the business around that shared goal. That's what I mean, I hate to oversimplify it, but that really what it is, what I would recommend. Yeah.
No, I mean, a lot of times, like I'll see an ad for, hey, here's an AI tool that does this. And so then you jump on that out of context of a bigger AI strategy or.
Yeah, that's the thing, right? Like that's where it takes a little bit of, you had mentioned cost, right? Return on investment and all these things that drive our business decisions. That's where sometimes more like, lack of better terms, out of the box solutions that have all these features and is using AI and is promising these types of things can seem really, really appealing. But what you might need is actually a little bit of front investment on something that is more tailored and targeted to what you're trying to achieve. Because then you're going to spend less money in the long run, and you're not going to be spending money on things you don't need as a business. So I think it's always that there's a dichotomy there between maybe more custom solutioning and, for something like AI or something that's a little bit more out of the box that's coming with a platform or an enterprise solution, right? So that needs to be a business decision.
Yeah, I think you're right about spending a little bit of time to map out the plan, like map out the plan and what you're really trying to get so that you know where to start. Because software, in the software business, they're famous for calling it shelfware. You pay all this money for a solution and it never quite works. But with AI, tell me again, what's the difference between traditional recommendation engines and AI, an AI powered recommendation engine?
So the foundation of it is the same. So a traditional recommendation engine. So I'll give an example of one a really good one that I was luckily to be involved in back when I was with the Lego Group. There's I don't know if people know this, but the Lego Group has the largest club in the world, right? The Lego Club. And we were building a new digital solution, and there was something going on there basically where it's a content company and a toy company, let's be honest. And there's so much content on lego.com. You could go there as a user and just get lost and like trying to find the thing that's going to resonate with you the most, or, whether you're a kid or an adult. So when we launched this new Lego Club experience, we based on a recommendation engine, which is what you're mentioning. So this is probably about 2013, 2014. But what it did was you came into the club and you took an initial quiz, and that's why a lot of these happen. You have to have a starting point to start building a user profile. And within that quiz, it would ask you, okay, what sets do you like? What themes do you like? What are you into space? Are you into city? It would ask you these questions, and then it'd start kind of building your digital self as a Lego fan. And then you'd have a content feed that then would feed content in from throughout the site around around what your interests were on that quiz. And that's using taxonomy, which is, product descriptions, tagging for, categories and subcategories of products and content. So then you would start reading stuff. And as you read stuff, it then tracked those user behaviors, and that's tagged as well. And it said, okay, these types of things are popular. And it builds that over time, and it builds that user profile. And that's something we're all used to. You go to a website, you log in, it's only going to show you the sneakers that you like at maybe like a sports website. So that's your basic how it works, right? Each product or content piece has tags assigned to it, and then it tracks your behavior also and what you engage with, and then ensures that those filters are applied to what you see. And with AI, it has that predictive model to it. So it's adding another layer of understanding of who you are and what your behavior is and what it should be recommending to you. And especially when you start getting through more conversational stuff like chatbots or voice conversations. So like if you're looking for furniture, right? You like dark furniture, you like light furniture. Well, it actually starts knowing why you like dark furniture or why you like light furniture. It starts recording those types of preferences, and then adds that to your profile. Does that help? I mean, it comes back to that kind of friend that understands. It knows the reasons. It learns the reasons why you're making certain decisions, and then uses that to build its understanding of you in a more kind of predictive way, I guess.
Yeah, I want to get some, and I'm glad you know about Canola. Canola's goal is to be the largest healthy fast food chain in the world, right? Because there really aren't any. And its idea is to live better, longer, eat health, that kind of stuff, right? And so can you think of a couple of AI tools that we should be thinking of right away, assuming that they're not using anything? What are a couple of them Like we need to build a membership for our club, right? We need, just like you guys do, we need to build our club. We need to figure out how to interact. I like the idea of creating content and food, right? Like, cause you want to teach people how to live, but can you recommend any tools or strategies that we ought to be thinking about right now for canola?
Well, I think we talked a lot about it over this episode. I think that's probably what they should do. I think they're going to have a little bit of custom building of that if they really want it to be powerful. I wouldn't really recommend a specific product. I think that there's a lot that can be done with just building, kind of like tying into different AI solutions with a little bit of a custom solution for them. I love the nutritionist side because what is resonating with me is like they're tying into a lifestyle. And to tie into a lifestyle, there's just layers of complexity to that where it has to feel authentic and it has to feel deliberate. And for it to be truly powerful and to be truly embraced. And I like what I know about the company, it's just so prime for like a really amazing experience. Like I think that it could be done on so many, positive levels for them and what they're trying to achieve. It seems like it's a hand in hand type scenario, especially with the drive-through aspect of it, that you can actually have that conversation and it's real. I mean, have you heard of Bordy?
No.
So Bordy is like a AI tool that has come out, and it's almost like a career coach, centered around like relationship building, and it's very conversational. I use it all the time. Kind of if I want to like a sounding board or, I want like a little conversation with something that feels a little bit like a mentor, I could call him.
Yeah, let's call
him. You guys want to see how good this stuff is?
Can you show us now?
Yeah, get him on the phone. Hopefully this will work. I'm going to hold up to the mic.
Hey, this is Bordy.
Hey, Bordy, it's Jeremy. How's it going?
Hey, Jeremy. It's great to hear from you again. I've been thinking about our last chat and that restaurant AI analogy we worked on for your FranSmart podcast. How's the prep coming along?
The prep's on. Been going really, really well. I've been having some great conversations with it. I actually want to introduce a friend of mine who's on a call with me. His name's Dan Rowe. He's actually he's in charge of the podcast for FranSmart, and actually FranSmart is a company. Let's say hi to him.
Hi, Dan. It's great to virtually meet you. I'm thrilled to hear that the podcast prep is going well. Jeremy and I have had some fascinating discussions about AI and the future of restaurants. How's everything shaping up on your end?
So far, so good. Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you too, Dan. It sounds like you and Jeremy are cooking up something exciting. If there's anything I can do to help make the podcast even better, just let me know.
Wow.
Yeah, we're making our way through it, and we're having some great discussions about it. We want to find a way to describe how AI could be used for, like recommendations. Like if there is a company that wanted to focus around nutrition and health and well-being of their customers, a restaurant, how could AI help them do that?
A fantastic topic. AI could act like a personal nutritionist for customers, analyzing their preferences, dietary needs, and even health goals to recommend meals tailored just for them. It could also suggest menu items based on seasonal ingredients or trends, creating a more personalized and health-conscious dining experience. What do you think?
I think that's an amazing idea. We talked about similar things. It's really cool to know that we're aligned on that.
I love that we're on the same wavelength, Jeremy and Dan. It's such a powerful way to make dining experiences more meaningful. Are there any specific angles or challenges you're exploring within this idea?
Building it. I mean, that might be a challenge. But other than that, I think that, it just seems a perfect solution for a company that's trying to achieve what they're trying to achieve.
Absolutely, Jeremy. Building it would definitely be a challenge, but the potential impact makes it so worth it. It's like creating a tool that not only serves, but truly connects with people. Would you want me to think about someone in my network who could help you explore the technical side of building something like this?
Yeah, I would. Why don't you send some stuff to my LinkedIn about it? I would love to connect with some people that want to continue that conversation.
I'll send you a message on LinkedIn, Jeremy. I'll also think about someone in my network who could be a great fit to help with this. Let me know if there's anything else you'd like to explore.
All right, I will. Well, we got to run now, but I really appreciate your time. It's nice talking to you again.
Always a pleasure, Jeremy, and great meeting you too, Dan.
Yep,
I'll keep thinking about your project and potential connections. Looking
Thank
forward
you.
to our next chat. Take care.
All right. Bye, Bordy.
So, Jeremy, tell me about your opinion of the retail of tomorrow or restaurants of tomorrow and AI's involvement in that.
Yeah. So it's moving really, really fast. So the crazy thing about technology is that it seems every year the speed at which the new technology and what's possible happens a lot faster. So we're talking the future retail is not 5 years out. It's like now, right? So I think that's I just actually put out an article around how sci-fi has all this stuff in the past that has seemed so far reaching and so futuristic to us like 10 years ago that is happening now. And it's just so quick. The store of the future I see centered around the people doing the work. So in a restaurant, doing the work of creating the food and not necessarily around helping the customers. I see payment being incorporated with everything. So, you're getting in and out super fast. You're using digital to secure payment. You don't have sales associates or clerks or cashiers helping you any longer. That is becoming very secondary. And I don't see this just in the restaurant industry. I see it in grocery stores, I see it in sporting goods stores, I see it in other brick and mortar. There's no more e-com and there's no more brick and mortar. There's commerce and it's all connected. And you don't necessarily need to scan products anymore to pay for them. It's going to know what you have on you when you leave the building, and it's going to charge your digital account for those items. It's basically all that stuff is in play to happen now, and it really is going to be more dependent on adoption rates and what people are willing to do. And that is changing very fast. So, I see it going that way. And there are aspects of it where, you're going to start, adding some more risk. So I think that's all going to be really a balance of risk versus reward in a lot of these scenarios, but it's not the technology that's holding back any longer.
Well, Jeremy, thank you. Thanks for breaking it down. I mean, I was so distracted half the time talking because as I'm trying to ask you one question, I'm thinking about the possibilities of AI in another way. So I apologize for that, but this is super helpful. I really appreciate you sharing it. Hopefully we could keep talking. I do actually want to bring Kunal your way. I want to start having a conversation with you, helping us map out what that all looks like for Kunal. So I appreciate this. So anything that you can think of that we left off, anything else that you want to chat about?
I think, yeah, we didn't really touch on some of those risks of when you're doing kind of full path to purchase digital. So we didn't really touch on that whole rabbit hole of what could go wrong.
Yeah, tell it. Let's go.
The biggest risk of this world that we're stepping into is that we're relying more and more on hardware and technology to achieve that full path to purchase for the customers. So in the past, the customers weren't willing to do it. Like the adoption rates were low. Now it's become part of everybody's daily life to kind of expect some level of digital integration in their shopping journey, whether you're in a restaurant, you're in brick and mortar. The side of it, the flip side of that is once you start incorporating payment systems in it, when it goes down, the business is going to start losing revenue like immediately. And, one thing that earlier when I mentioned, food courts and things like that have moved up so far to the other direction that you actually can't pay with cash, you start honestly chancing you're going to hemorrhage money if any of that goes down. Now, there's a lot that can be done to ensure that it doesn't. It's hardware monitoring. It's ensuring you're not relying on, internet access. So even when things go down, you can go still through the entire ordering process and payment process. Basically everything down to power sourcing and ensuring that there's a constant power source. So all that stuff is the stuff that I think people don't talk about. They talk about these really amazing conversations around innovation and technology and what is possible from a consumer standpoint and business efficiency and productivity and all that kind of stuff. But we don't talk enough about what happens when the lights go out and that there is a plan, right? So I think that part is really, really important, that it needs to be in the conversation. And when you're going through the solutioning process, we're ensuring that you're building something that's kind of fail-safe in respect.
Backup, redundancy. Yeah, the cash, you're right. I mean, the trend before COVID, it was considered, you weren't allowed to actually mandate credit only. You had to offer cash. And then with COVID, everyone was afraid of germs. So it sort of sped up. But yeah, you're right. I mean, if your ability to take payment goes down, there goes your revenue.
100%.
Yeah.
And if your menus are all on digital boards, your menu goes down too. So people won't, even if they could pay in cash, they're not going to know what to order. So these are all things that can be solved for. But it's important that that's part of the solutioning process, right? Like that's part of the process of creating these things. We have a term at the company I'm at, Reality, called Retail Rugged. And we've been doing that forever because we've been building these solutions, but it's just becoming, before when that began, it was just about getting a black screen, right? Which is still a problem. You don't want to see a black screens if you're using technology. It's just bad business. But it's become so much more crucial to that in the work that we're doing now, where there is a payment situation or a full path to purchase.
Okay. Well, that was a good point. Yeah. It's hard to make things easy, right? That, like, think about all the code that goes into software programs, right? And like, it takes a lot of work to make things easy to do. And to your point, something goes wrong with it, there goes your whole idea. You're going to wish that you were back to manual.
Yeah, we build labs, right? So, we build live labs. So if we have like a store that's running certain technology that we built, we have a version of that store that's live on location with us that we're constantly monitoring. So if there is a problem in the field, like, we can recreate it, we can see it, we can fix it right away, that type of stuff for all our clients. And I think, that's just needs to be a very important discussion that goes hand in hand with what's created.
Yeah, no, that's a good point. That's going to affect your budget too. It is.
Yeah, absolutely. But it's not going to affect the budget, the level it will if the stuff goes down, so. Okay.
All right. Well, Jeremy, this is great. Thank you so much. Appreciate the way you broke it all down. It's much appreciated. Where can people find out more about you?
Well, you can find out more about us as a company at realityi.com. And then find more about me at LinkedIn/Jeremy Brazeal.
Nice. Well, I appreciate this. I'm going to be back with you with canola because we've definitely got some work to do there. But yeah, anyways, audience, you know the drill. If you like this, like and share this, and we will be back with you soon. Thanks again, Jeremy.
All right. I'll talk to you soon. Thanks for the opportunity to come on. I appreciate it. It's fun.
Hey, thanks for tuning in to Smart Franchising with FranSmart. I'm your host, Dan Rowe. If you enjoyed today's episode, this podcast is only going to get better. Please like, comment, and subscribe to hear more from the most successful franchisors and franchisees, and we'll see you next time.